Welcome to War Thunder with Subdued and ultra low graphics, which is still a thing in War Thunder ground forces. This is absolutely insane. This should not be a thing at all. This looks absolutely horrible. Wow, he looks really visible. You can see those targets all the way out to there. That's a long way. Now let's come back and take a look at this in what should be normal graphics for a modern computer. Okay, we're back on the exact same place. We are looking through, and this is set up for movie level graphics. I don't have the most powerful computer in the world. It's a Intel i7 7700 with 16 gigs of RAM, a 1650 video card from NVIDIA, and a solid state drive. Big, hairy, fleeking deal. This is not the most powerful computer in the game. There are far more powerful computers in other players' hands. This is what it should look like. You can barely make out that tank. You could make him out clear as day before. This is why ultra low graphics needs to go. Gaijin really needs to take a look at their players and find out what players are actually using. Poll the players. This is why I'm not a tank driver. I can't hit the broadside of the wall, even with the best gun in the game. Not leading it properly. But here we go. I would still be able to spot this guy through all of this garbage in ultra low graphics, because the trees don't block anything. There we go. Finally, got a connection.
On target. Ready.
There we go. Finally, killed him. Took me long enough. This is why I'm not a tank driver.
Yes, a hit.
Never been very good at this. There we go. Gotta admit, Gaijin has done a wonderful job on the explosions. The problem is, in ultra low graphics, it's all wasted. The only person that gets to see it is the person who's dying, most likely. It doesn't do anything for somebody who wants to cheat the game. And that's what it is. It's cheating. It's not using the tools available to win. It's cheating. I know players don't like to be told they're cheating. Oh. You call an ace and a spade a spade. That explosion would look like crap under ultra low graphics. Old video card. Gaijin needs to remove that. They need to pull that out of the game. Tell people, go buy yourself a GTX 750 Ti. The Chinese market's got them cheap. That would be AliExpress or Banggood or whatever. Go buy yourself a GTX 750 Ti. It isn't the best card, but it will at least get you up out of garbage graphics. And those of you that are playing on a laptop potato, you know, that potato you plug a couple of wires into and try and play the game, get over it. Either get a desktop and play, or get a better laptop. Or maybe you've got a laptop that's got an upgradable video card. That would be good. Upgrade your video card. It doesn't matter. Do something. But this has got to stop. This is why I quit driving tanks 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever the tanks were introduced. I had a couple of good runs. I enjoyed playing tanks there for a little while. I got quite a few of the Germans. I got quite a few of the Americans. I didn't work on the British yet. Didn't work on the Russians. But now, I won't go back to it. I collect a couple of tanks now and then. Ones that are interesting to me. But this is the reason Stop that. You know, you look at this. This tank looks like hell in ultra low graphics. The ground you're running on looks like hell in ultra low graphics. It's horrible looking. I mean, if I was running on a Commodore 64, that would be the equivalent. Maybe an Amiga 500 or an Amiga 1000 would be equivalent. This needs to end. Gaijin's got a wonderful game here. A beautiful game. A game that deserves the best equipment you can put into it. You can't afford a laptop? Sorry. Desktops are cheap. You can pick them up cheap. You can drop a GTX 750 Ti into one, and it's not a big deal. You put it 4 gigs of RAM, works fine. 8 better. 16 if you've got money. You can pick up these desktops with an 80 gig hard drive up to a 250 gig hard drive. That's what they come with. Get them on eBay. They're cheap. They might even come with an operating system. If they don't come with an operating system, they'll probably have a Windows 7 sticker on there, and you can put at least Windows 7 on there, if not putting a Windows 10 in there and using the Windows 7 key. I don't know, they were supposed to have ended that, but I don't think they did. This is something that Gaijin needs to do. They need to say, guys, you gotta upgrade. It's been 8 years, working on 9 years now. You gotta spend some bucks. I mean, it's a free-to-play game, which means they don't have to give you anything. And giving you this period of time of 8 years plus at minimal graphic standards should be enough. A decent video card is not expensive now. You don't need the latest and greatest GT or RTX 3090 to play this game. I'm proving it with this. I've got a GTX 1650. It's a 4 gig video card and it does a good job. Everyone should be able to get something like that. Like I said, I've run this game on a GTX 750 Ti. I've run it on a GTX 1050 Ti. The game will run on pretty near anything, including potatoes. Gaijin just needs to spend a little time to make sure that this will run on, let's say, a minimum of a GTX 650 or 660. Now I realize those cards run a little hot, but they still run. And they will do this game with no problem. GTX 750 Ti, low power. I don't know whether you can get a low profile in that, but I've used the old Asus cards. They're wonderful. They do a great job. The 1050 Ti's that I got are Asus. This 1650 is a MSI card. This is the sort of thing that Gaijin needs to spend some time on, as well as maps and missions and such. This is one of the things that killed tanks for me. Like I said, I had gone through quite a few of the Germans and I was working on the Americans when I realized that there were players out there that could see me all the way across the map in ultra low graphics. I could be hiding behind a bush, only that bush wasn't there to them. It wasn't there. They couldn't see it. I could see it, but they couldn't see it. I couldn't hide in the bushes. What good is that? Look at all the details on this tank. You don't see these details as clearly when you're in ultra low graphics as you do now. I mean, this thing's got some beautiful detail work. But you don't see any of that when you're in ultra low graphics. You just see it's a block tank. It's not as bad as, like I was saying, Commodore 64 tank, but it's close. It's seriously close. And even the hangar looks absolutely horrible in ultra low graphics. I didn't show you the hangar because it was sickening. At least the hangar looks good in movie. Everything looks so much crisper and sharper, and I mean, trees look like trees, not like something you cut out of a piece of paper and glued to another piece of paper to make it look like a tree. Ultra low graphics doesn't affect air realistic and air arcade and air simulator as badly because you're in the air. But the ground looks like garbage. It looks like it was just, yeah. When you were growing up, did you have a sand pile that you played in, a sand pit? Where you could build things or go to the beach and then build, sand castles and whatnot? Well, that's what the ground looks like. It looks like bleh. It looks like somebody just moved a bunch of stuff around to create hills, and occasionally there's a darker spot that's a mountain, and sometimes there's a splotch of green here or there, and then you get down close and you go, oh, those are supposed to be trees, aren't they? Gaijin needs to ditch the ultra-low graphics. They've had 8 years to get their act together to buy better equipment. And better equipment is still cheap. You can get your hands on a used 750 Ti or 650 or 650 Ti or 660 Ti, even a 670 Ti. Although anything 660, 670, 680 is going to require additional power. 750 Ti doesn't require additional power. 1050 Ti does not require additional power. 1650 doesn't require additional power. You can stick them into cheap desktop units that are going on the market from offices. They're coming off lease, they're going on the market. Doesn't matter whether it's a Dell or an HP or a whoever. You can pick them up cheap. I mean, I've seen them as low as $80. Now you do the equivalent for your nation, but they're used. They might be a grade B or a grade C computer, which means they're going to have scuffs and maybe a dent here or there, but they work. They work. And you can hook up a good video card into them, and you can make this game come alive. Now you might have to, if you're one of the cheaters and you have to all of a sudden pay attention to what you're doing because you can't see all the way across the map and you can't see the guys behind the bushes, your cheating days should be over. And that's what it is. It's still cheating. And I really wouldn't mind being able to go back to playing tanks again if I could be guaranteed that there weren't cheaters involved. Now, somebody's going to go, well, you got the anti cheat software built into the game now. I don't want to hear about it. The anti cheat just keeps players who have whatever cheat software engaged from playing. And as far as I'm concerned, they ought to be banned permanently from the game. They shouldn't be allowed to play the game at all. But they'll just make a new email address and create a new account and then build it up and go back to their cheating ways. And they probably already got more money than God and they just want to cheat to cheat's sake. Because the only way they get up to the point where they were is if they have the money to spend on buying their way to the top. I've been playing for 8 years, almost 9. And you know, well, it's not almost 9, it's almost 8 years, because it'll be March that I'll pass the 8-year point. I really like this game. And I'd like to go back to playing tanks. I've seen some interesting matches and interesting maps, and I would love to try it again. But I'm not going to try it as long as ultra low graphics are a thing. And they've been a thing since day one. I mean, when I started, I had a Radeon HD 7500 with 2 gigs of DDR3 RAM. And I thought I was doing okay. And that was in a Core 2 quad with 2 gigs of RAM. Now, I couldn't run it at max settings, but I wasn't on ultra low graphics either. And I think I did okay because I lasted long enough to actually come into some money and start putting better video cards in. My first acquisition was a GTX 750 Ti. And that was like 3 years ago, maybe. And that was an awesome card. That card basically really opened my eyes as to what this game could be. Because I could actually take it up and make it in high graphics rather than medium low in certain areas. I made the game look better. Actually, Gaijin made the game look fantastic. I was only able to bring it up to looking really good. And now, with the Dagger 6, I think that's what it is, the game looks phenomenal. They've got all sorts of new effects of this and that and sounds of this and that, and it's all wonderful, but it's all lost the minute somebody sets ultra low graphics. It's not even worth even thinking about, because they've thrown about half of the game out the window. All for the opportunity to cheat. I mean, you're missing the experience of this game if you are not on a medium to movie level of graphics. Because the game looks like crap if you don't. I take that back. Even in low settings, it's good. But it starts to really come alive when you go to medium and high, and then all the way up to max, and then movie. Movie's beautiful. Love to get into that. And if I had the money to be able to throw in to buy an RTX card and a computer system that could handle it, I mean, Intel 7 i7 7700 is a good chip. My problem is I've got a used Dell desktop and I don't have the power to be able to run a RTX 3060 Ti or a 3070 or a 3080, or God knows I wouldn't be able to run a 3090. I don't think I would have even enough power in the power supply if it wasn't supplying anything else to power a 3090. So I'm running a 1650. Doesn't require anything but bus power. As long as you got a PCI Express 16X slot, you can run a 1650, a GTX 1650. You can run a GTX 750 Ti. Now, I'm not an NVIDIA shell. My first card was a Radeon from AMD. And there's nothing wrong with Radeon cards. They use a bit more power, which is why I went with NVIDIA. They have low power cards. I don't know if NVIDIA has, or AMD has any low power cards. I think most of them require additional power. But that's what I would love to see. I would love to see Gaijin remove that low power, that low graphics setting, and remove it completely. Older video cards needs to go. And yes, people, you're already spending money on this game. Don't bullshit me. You're already spending money on this game. I don't care if you're sitting there with a potato machine. You've had years to get better equipment. And better equipment is not expensive. Better equipment is not that expensive. When I was running on a Core 2 Quad Q6600 with 2 gigs of RAM, a 250 gig hard drive, which was also running the operating system as well as the game, with 100 megabit internet, or not internet, 100 megabit Ethernet to a DSL router with 2.5 megabit access, I was uh, I was still doing fairly well. And when I got faster internet and a faster video card and a better computer, i7 2600, i7 7700, I incrementally moved forward. Over 8 years, people, 8 years, I could afford to move forward. And I was flat busted broke when this game started. I had nothing other than where I lived, what meager income I had coming in, and my computer, which wasn't the best. I mean, in 2008 or 2013, the computer was already 6 years old, if not 7. The first i5s and i7s and i3s were out. My first fast computer was a second gen i7. Well, actually, it was an i5. I bought the i7 chip afterwards. It was a 2400, and then I bought the 2600 chip. And then I got stupid and bought a 2600K and realized I couldn't overclock the motherboard. So that was kind of a waste of money. But I still made do. Gaijin, please get rid of ultra low graphics or old video card support. It's not needed, and any of your players that are still requiring it. I mean, build a query into your game that queries the computer saying, what you got? And if their computer meets the minimum spec for low graphics, then turn off the ability to go into old video card support. Now, I think that would be Intel HD 6000 or 4000. I'm not sure. That would be absolute minimum to get into low graphics setting. And that's something that would be on the chip in their computer. This is something that needs to happen to make the game, to let the game go forward. Because as long as they have to keep supporting potatoes, well, those potato players, well, I'm not worried about the potato players. I'm worried about the guy who's got the GTX 3090 or the RTX 3090. He's got the i9 10900K with 64 gigs of RAM, overclocked to whatever, with multiple terabytes of hard drive space, and he's on an internet connection that's 100 gigabit, and he's running in old video card support, because that's the way to cheat. That's the way to get ahead in ground forces. You should be able to, the game should be able to query that machine to know what specs it has because there are video games that do query the machine to find out what specs they have, and it won't run the game if the specs aren't up to snuff. In this case, query the machine, and if they're up to snuff for the minimum low setting in graphics, and options, graphics, low, medium, high, maximum, movie. If they meet low, then that old video card support should be grayed out and not functional. They should not be able to engage that. Period. It's a cheat. It's a ground forces cheat that's been going on since ground forces came into the game. All right. Enough. Oh, one other thing, Gaijin, if you would be so kind as to make it truly combined arms fights. Give us the ability as aviators to not have to drive a bloody tank to get into a ground forces battle. I don't want to drive a tank. I want to put my A7 down the throat of the Russians or the British or the French and pump 30 mils or 2,000 pounders up their butts. Thank you. Hey, Subdude signing out. Y'all have a pleasant today, a better tomorrow, and we'll catch you in the sky in Air Realistic on the good maps, of which there are damn few.